This is like a script. It's not a game script.
Right.
It's a script.
Fuck the Oscars, you know? Fuck the Oscars! Fuck you!
Because the most subtle nuances of emotions could be seen on screen. With the PlayStation 4, games have now finally reached that stage.
This is the System Game Podcast, where we say, fuck the Oscars and fuck you. Because, Ryan, do you know why I made you play this with me?
You hate me?
It wasn't that bad.
No, it wasn't. That was a joke.
No, because the guy that I put in our intro, he was like the creative director or whatever at the studio that made this, who famously, when receiving his Game Awards, I don't even remember if it was for this game, but he said, fuck the Oscars and fuck you, because fuck movies, right?
Fuck movie.
Why? No, Mr. Plinkett impressions.
Yeah, okay.
But fuck movies, because why would you watch a movie when you can play a game that just kind of verbatim rips off all the tropes and everything and coasts on the interactivity that is supposed to make it actually engaging versus kind of boring, because you're just seeing things you've seen before. This is a lot of video game stuff, like Max Payne. Even though Max Payne has its like unique X factor of Sam Lake's entertaining writing, it's okay in the 2000, like with the GTA games and everything. You can rip off those movies because those interactive elements are supposed to be what makes it good, which is why when you translate them back into movies, it's kind of weird. Because, anyways, that's a whole tangent. But this guy, the studio, they made Brothers: Tale of Two Sons. Do you remember this game?
No, I never played it.
So that was more of an indie game, or looked more like an indie game. You know, we're using cartoony characters. We're not trying to do real people. The gimmick was that you control both brothers, one with each thumbstick. And it was almost like a weird game where it's a co-op game where you have to use both of the controllers because your brother or sister isn't there. It had some neat ideas, but it kind of felt like it was designed for people who have that procedure where they split their brain in half and you can draw, like they can draw a square and a circle like at the same time. I don't know. It tries to go for some like emotional beat. It doesn't have any dialogue, which is one thing. It tries to hit this emotional beat with like the brother dying and the dad is like sick or whatever. All this to say it was okay. Then after this game, have you heard of It Takes Two?
No.
So that was the co-op game they made after this, which you play as two puppets that like represent mom and dad who are going through a divorce. But again, that is...
Hang on. What? No.
Now, by all accounts...
No. You're making that up. You're lying.
I'm not.
You're
It was really popular, and by all accounts, it's a great game. But again, it was more. Again, focusing more on like the abstract game, using literal like cartoony game stuff as metaphor, and focusing more on like the creativity of what you can do with the co-op stuff. So this one is kind of the outlier of we're going for a movie aesthetic. And, I would say this game kinda... You played The Walking Dead, right?
Yes.
It kinda has that flavor of, before The Walking Dead, an adventure game like Monkey Island and Grim Fandango and stuff, you have some funny writing, and it was about puzzles. And Walking Dead said, well, what if we made the puzzles really easy and not frustrating, and the puzzles were less like you have to put gum on your head to stick yourself to a tree or whatever. But instead it's, oh god, you have to pick up the hammer right now because the zombie's heading toward you. And I would kind of
find something to crush this man's head with.
Yes, and I would kind of put this in that there is like action and third-person shooting, but there's no core mechanic, and it's more about like that sort of puzzle solving that's not exactly hard, but you have to actually use some coordination and be quick about it. So first part is, of course, the prison break, where we were both confused about what era this takes place in.
Right, because the entire prison section is so Shawshank. It is so clearly like the prison from the Shawshank Redemption, and the uniforms and the guards' uniforms and everything. It's so obvious. That made me instantly think this was like Shawshank set in the 50s or late 40s.
And I think it was set in the 70s, would you say? Right?
That was something we discovered later, because I remember it, because there's a bunch of at some point in the background there's a newspaper about Vietnam, and the 70s seems to line up with the way the characters outside the prison are dressed. And like the cars that we see on the road.
Yeah.
But then there's the weird thing where you meet an old homeless man who claims to have fought in Vietnam, which doesn't make any sense if it's the 70s.
Yeah, which you rightly pointed out. It's like, no, Vietnam vets weren't always old.
Yeah, like Vietnam vets
they got
in the
old
70s
later.
had just got back, or were still in Vietnam. Like they were kids. They were like 20.
Hey, listen.
Like they were not old.
War ages you know?
Yeah, you somehow instantly become like a 60-year-old homeless man when you get back.
So I guess I forgot to ask my usual question, which was, did you enjoy this game?
Yeah, it was fun, I guess. The social aspect made it a lot more fun, actually. Like the fact that it's like a game you are required to play with someone and like interact with them like in person and talk to them to finish the game is like fun.
Yeah, you have that co-op advantage, which is everything is more fun with a friend. Even Kane and Lynch is more fun with a friend.
Even though it's mostly fun, like, ironically.
I think at the beginning I was a bit worried because it starts off with that fist fight that's just quick time events. Yeah. And I was like, oh no, is this going to be like all the interactions with the game? Because that's gonna suck. But no, in fact, in retrospect, I think I like the prison a lot. It might be the strongest part, maybe. I don't know.
Because I really actually love the section where you're unscrewing the toilet.
Yeah, I was about to say that.
That's the lookout. That's
probably the highlight of the game for me.
Because it's so interesting that it makes a game mechanic basically out of talking to the other person, because the other person has to be warning you if someone's coming, but there's no option to warn you within the game. You have to just talk,
and that's
so interesting.
That's the strongest elements, because the actual characters and plot are very
cliche, very weak, very cliche.
And honestly, a lot of it could have been helped with just like punching up the dialogue.
Right. Oh my god. So we should talk about, even before you're in the prison, you've got the framing story of the plane, where they're like, "Do you remember when da da da?" He's like, "Yeah, I remember when da 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 da." Right? It's like so weak.
It's just sleepy. It's fucking sleepy.
Like, it sounds like Steve Bloom is taking Xanax. Like, he's usually good, is what's weird. I don't know.
Oh yeah, I mean, like,
guy, but Steve Bloom sounds bad. Like,
he gives in great performances, even if he's a random guy in Rage who has a machine gun that's yelling at you to do something.
For some reason, he sounds really stiff here in a way he doesn't other places.
It sounds like It sounds like they definitely didn't get these two guys in the room together ever.
Right, which seems crazy to me, though. Because the whole story is, why wouldn't you put them in the booth together? The whole story is about their relationship.
Right, and
But it really sounds like, yeah, they're not talking to each other at all.
So this is the kind of the weird thing, because you could make that stronger, but I do kind of wonder how much effort is wasted. At least in a lot of most co-op games, they don't expect you to follow along with a narrative because they understand the social interaction is more important. So, like, great example, like the Left 4 Dead games, which actually have great characters. You understand, like, which each one of these guys' things are, but of course there's not, like, any cutscenes, or the narrative is all background noise. And that's all designed because the meat of the gameplay is you and your 3 friends coordinating against hordes of zombies. But with this being a co-op adventure game, you need a little something more.
But they clearly expect you to care about the story.
Right, and
Like,
it is
that's
important.
obvious.
Well, I was trying to imagine this game with a more background noise story, but that's hard because of the adventure game format, which
How would you even do that?
expects more context. And then you have all of these adventure gamey downtime stuff where you literally can just wander up to people and start chatting them up. And that's weird in a co-op game. And they kind of try and do that thing where the person having the most important conversation, like,
it dominates the audio mix, so that you don't have overlapping dialogue, which is good.
Right.
But it's weird that they even let you give you the option of these weird optional conversations.
which none of them are interesting.
Yeah, they're all like, "Hey, what are you doing? I'm doing this. Oh, that's great. Bye."
I'm a stupid fucking guy, and all right, have a nice day.
Yeah, the only funny thing is when Vincent can talk to the other guy's wife. What's the other guy's name? God damn it, Leo.
Yeah.
Vincent can talk to Leo's wife.
But I think we definitely like the prison. And there's so much.
Okay, so the big problem I had with the prison break sequence is that it wants to break up the gameplay. So there's this weird thing where, all right, you've unscrewed the toilets, you're in the maintenance hallways, right? And then you get to a barrier and it's like, oh shoot, we need something for this. And then you just go back to your cell and wait till the next day.
Oh, you're talking about when you do the Emperor's New Groove back-to-back
No,
climb.
that happens even before that. That's like the second time it happens.
But that's the most offensive one,
That's
though.
the most where it's like you just do that off screen 3 more times.
Yeah, and I think we both realized that this was really calling for a Mission Impossible, we explain the plan while we're doing it kind of thing.
Like you get to a barrier and then you have a flashback of how they got the things or whatever. Yeah, because the problem, this weird structure where they stop in the middle of the prison break, go back to their cells to get more stuff, just doesn't work. It's like, the tension, it kills the momentum and the tension because it's like, oh, they can just turn around and go home. Like, they don't have, like the prison break, that should be like a crossing the Rubicon moment where it's like we either escape or we get caught.
Yeah, we gotta execute the plan, you know?
Yeah, but it's like, no, we just go back to our cells and we can steal more stuff to get past this obstacle.
But there's tons of I can't, obviously don't want to go through every mini game, but like there was like the laundry one. One guy's in a hamper.
That's cool. Yeah, that's cool. Where one guy's hiding and can only see a little. Well, the whole thing where your vision is limited is kind of ruined because you can just look at the other guy's screen.
I mean, sure, but it's
cool though.
It's cool, and I think a lot if the highlights are definitely those moments where the gameplay gimmicks are entertaining, and I even like the very primitive stealth stuff in the next part where they're on the run, and you have to do cooperative timed stealth takedowns.
Yeah, which is cool. Like we pointed out that like Vincent chokes people out, but Leo starts choking them out and then punches them.
Yeah, and so and you brought up probably the strongest part about this game, which is while the actual writing and dialogue is boring as hell, milquetoast bullshit, the characterization through play is actually really well done. And you have those moments, and then you have the moment where one of the characters has vertigo, and so his camera gets all fisheye lens, and he's trying to balance.
Right, but the other guy doesn't experience that at all.
And then you have the, Kane and Lynch connection, because the first game, one of them is crazy and sees things that the other co-op partner doesn't see.
That's not even in the game we played, though.
I'm just saying it's an example of...
Yeah.
You know, that is like I know they tried to do the same thing in Dead Space 3, where like one of them like hallucinates. So I guess, you know, this is probably the strongest example of like depicting differences of perception between characters, which I think is worthwhile. There's that small one where they pick up the gun in the guy's house.
They pick up the gun off. That's what one I was thinking of, where Leo just points it straight at the wall and fires, but Vincent keeps it pointed at the ground.
Yeah, because he's
like more safe, and he's a cop. Secret, spoiler, he's a cop.
Yeah.
So he probably has like firearm training. So maybe it even counts as foreshadowing.
Yeah, sure.
If that's foreshadowing, he has formal firearms training.
I wanted to ask you, I talked about in the beginning how this, of course, blatantly just rips off movies.
Yes.
And
the
why
first
that
one is Shawshank
is kind of okay, but like, did it degrade from the experience for you?
Okay, so I first want to catalog all the movies I think this rips off. The first is Shawshank, obviously. The second is probably less than Shawshank, but The Fugitive. Then it becomes Scarface, except you're playing as the goons who kill Tony Montana at the end.
Oh, yeah.
And then it becomes Heat. Like the ending of Heat.
Right.
So yeah, I don't know, except it kind of did, because having seen all those movies, they weren't doing anything with those references.
Except just gamifying them.
Except just gamifying, like... But not even really that. Like, it didn't feel like it felt like I was playing a generic third-person shooter. It didn't feel like I was playing Scarface or whatever the fuck.
Right.
It's just, like, referencing shit, because, like... I don't know. And the fact that it kept changing what genre of movie it was trying to be.
But that's to mix up the scenarios and set pieces.
Right, but it feels ridiculous.
Yeah, and see, that's where I think there's a weird okay. So I want to call this game story uncanny valley. And what I mean by that is you can have a lot of story in your game, or you can have games that are light on narrative
and big on just action and gameplay.
Yeah, and both of those can be great, and the weird ones are the ones that spend just enough time on like a mediocre story that's like, this doesn't feel real at all. There's enough time where it gets annoying, but not enough time to actually make you care about it. Half-baked, essentially.
Yeah.
And this game falls into that, where it's like, could they have, like I said, made it more like a Left 4 Dead, or you have to go... Well, they go pretty hard. It's just harder. That it's bad. It's just bad.
Just make it better and make it feel like it's the same story. Because you have this absurd action scene where two guys are fucking breaking into a compound in Mexico and then shooting this guy 1,000,000 times. Then he falls into the pool like Scarface. Like, you have that, and then you still want me to be like, oh no, he betrayed him. It's so serious. So this is fucking stupid.
Yeah, and I think, again, I brought up Max Payne. It's like, even a lot of games that will verbatim... I mean, Halo, of course, rips off Aliens. So many games rip off Aliens, but it doesn't take a whole lot to add that X factor that makes it, unique and not entertaining. I mean, Half-Life, instead of a face hugger, it has a head crab.
Right, like, Halo rips off Aliens a lot, but they do more to take Aliens as an inspiration and build a new thing.
I mean, I just finished playing Metal Gear Solid, which has a guy named Snake in it, and that is not a ripoff of Escape from New York. It's
because outside of him being named Snake, it's nothing like Escape from New York.
This needed some sort of extra element, and
I almost think it should have just been ripping off one movie.
Yeah.
Like my issue is that it's like you've got the prison escape, and then you've got. It could have just been a prison escape. Like, it didn't need to turn into, like, a fugitive movie and then a fucking, like, absurd action movie where you're doing car chases and motorcycle jumps. Like, you would not... Like, imagine if the Shawshank Redemption... Like, imagine watching a movie that for 1 hour was, like, the first hour of the Shawshank Redemption. And then Andy breaks out and gets into, like, a gunfight and a car chase.
And then he shoots Scarface.
No. Imagine if Andy breaks out, gets a machine gun, and kills Tony Montana. Imagine how fucking stupid that would be.
Yeah, I think we finally hit on the problem of this game, which is it has, a narrative through line that expects you to care about it, but its goal seems to be more like ripping off every... it's a set piece driven. It's too set piece driven to actually be compelling.
Right. And some of the set pieces are cool because you have that whole sequence where they're trying to do. This is weird because it's a movie thing where they're trying to do a one take. The chase sequence in the hospital, right?
Right.
Where the camera's like moving through windows or moving through grates, and it's one take, and you're seeing the different characters. That's like a set piece, and they clearly constructed the game around making that happen.
Yeah, and I think I don't know how this game did or anything, but I do think it's interesting that, like I said, the studio went back to making something more abstract and gamey to serve as more of a metaphor than trying to make real people.
Puppets getting divorced. Puppets getting divorced.
When people talk about that game, I generally hear that it's just a fun, well-designed game. I hear mixed things on the actual emotional impact and resonance of that story. So, I don't know. Your mileage may vary. Maybe I'll play it with my wife sometime so we can learn what... I don't know if they get back together.
My wife. Yeah, you want to play a game? What are you saying here? Oh, no.
No. It's preparing for things to come.
Divorce simulator.
All right. I mean, how'd you feel about the car chase stuff?
It was weird because it just kind of felt like the car chase isn't like Uncharted or something. It felt very generic. Like I didn't feel like anything special. Nothing in this game except the co-op stuff feels like anything really special.
I think that's the hard part of. So the reason why, when you make a game that's trying to be a movie like Uncharted, and most of the gameplay is like you shoot a bunch of dudes, and that's because games need some sort of core. A lot of them need like a core repetitive action, but this game does not do that.
Right.
Which I think is challenging because when you do want to have those moments, you're not going to match the shooting of an Uncharted game. You're not going to match the spectacle because you're trying to have all those... I couldn't imagine... I feel like this game would have... All games are challenging to design, but just the fact that you have to design each unique scenario with a different type of mechanic and everything. Just the fact that they had to make a rudimentary third-person shooter system, that sounds like a pain in the ass, Something that is not even like a core part of your game. Yeah,
the fact that it turns into a third-person shooter for like one small section.
Right, and even L.A. Noire, which is the more of the adventure game variety, has a core mechanic. But then they can, when they do want to do action, they can rely on the already
stuff they built for GTA.
Yeah, the stuff built in that Rockstar engine. Yeah. So that's why I can't say this was a great game, but I really do applaud the effort and the attempt. Honestly, that sounds so fucking like patronizing, but I mean it.
Like
I fucking mean it.
Like, good job, buddy.
But I mean, hey, he doesn't need my approval. He's clearly a man of confidence.
Fuck the Oscars.
Yeah, clearly a man of confidence.
Fuck George.
A lot of the I like
Fuck
the cute.
You.
I like the cute mini games. I like the darts and the.
Yeah,
Connect
those
4.
are fun, but like they're also weird because like. Okay, the Connect 4's funny, right?
Yeah.
But if you want me to care about the story, like, this guy's wife is, like, just
she's giving birth right now.
Yes, and he's, like, cannot be there long because he's on the run from the cops.
Right.
And they're just going to stop and play Connect 4? It's ridiculous.
Yeah, and so, because downtime and quiet time is important, but it's weird in a co-op game.
I'm sorry. You know what that is? I'm sorry. It's ludonarrative dissonance.
Shut up.
It is.
I don't.
It's not really.
I'm fucking flabbergasted. I'm stunned. I can't speak. I don't know what to say.
But I'm right.
Sure, whatever. I don't care anymore.
No, but like it is weird that you have the option to do these mini games because like doing them, like the thing where you get the guns and you throw the bottle and you can shoot it with the shotgun.
Oh, right, yeah.
That totally makes sense.
But I still just want to talk about, like, I'm just talking about there's the section in the middle where you spend time with the kids.
Yes.
Which would feel very, like, natural and normal in a single-player game because it's like, okay, I'm taking a breather from the action to get to know the characters. You have some downtime with, like, some mini-games that are endearing. But it doesn't feel right to me in a co-op setting because I don't need like that quiet time with someone else. Like because we're just talking to each other. We were barely listening to what they were talking about, you know.
Yeah.
And so it's just an interesting attempt. So do we want to talk about the ending now?
Sure. Well, you have to kill each other. The game has the big twist where you kill each other.
Which I remember when this game was announced, and I was like, oh, so they're going to have, like, you're going to fight each other at the end. Because that's, like, the natural way to end this. I mean, just because I think that's, the idea is good. Of course, I jokingly compared it to the original Lego Star Wars, where you play as Anakin and Obi-Wan and have to fight each other at the end of the last level.
Yes.
But it's fun, but of course, where it's at a moment where you're most likely to be laughing and talking shit, and then it tries to go for the deepest emotional hit because one of you dies and doesn't get to see their family again.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just like weird when it's like. It's weird to do in a game where both characters are player controlled. It's like, isn't this such a great tragedy? But I don't know.
There's not really a way to feel connected.
It's not even making you feel bad for a choice you made.
Right. You know, I would almost say again, what works better is something like Left 4 Dead, where at the end of you do like the final mission and one of the player characters has to stay behind to like lower a bridge and be eaten by zombies. And of course, you're not actually like sad or anything, but there is like that element, like, oh no, my friend, he died, you know. At least like there's some sort of I don't know, it just fits better. But I think that's all I got. I was entertained, and it was a neat idea, but I ultimately, it just didn't quite work.